Hello friends, Carla here with Opening Chocolate. Today for the bar bits video, I was inspired by this bar from Luisa Abram out of Brazil. She's a Brazilian chocolate maker. This is her Rio Iaco or Iaco River. As you know, she collects wild cacao from which she makes her bars, and she names them after the Amazon tributaries, rivers that are in the area from where she collected the cacao. So this one is from the Iaco River, and it actually has a super interesting history attached behind it. So it all starts with rubber. So this is one of her newer wild cacaos. I don't recall seeing it before 2023, but I can't say for sure. But the Iaco is a tributary to the Puris, which is another one of her bars, which is a tributary to the main Amazon flow. So the Iaco has many wild rubber trees growing along it. So before we had synthetic rubber, all rubber was made from the sap of a tree called Hevea brasiliensis. This tree has a milky white sap that is collected from the tree to extract the natural latex from it, which creates rubber. So something that is in Brazilian history, they talk about two rubber cycles. So the first rubber cycle began around in the 1870s and into the early 1900s. It was spurred on by bicycle tires, car parts. The electrical wires needed rubber wrapped around the outside to protect them. So that was where the demand for the rubber came from. But what happened was certain colonists, as colonists tend to do, smuggled seeds out of the country, out of Brazil, for these trees. They smuggled 70,000 seeds out and began planting them and growing them and having plantations in countries where they controlled more of the political and economic environment, ones like Malaysia, Singapore, Sri Lanka. What happened was, once they got these plantations up and running and they've kind of cut economic ties with Brazil or are utilizing them less, Japan invaded those areas in East Asia, and Brazil was once again asked to revive their industry. So the second rubber cycle comes during World War II, when, again, Axis powers like Japan are in the areas where the colonists were growing rubber, had rubber plantations and no longer had access to them, but they still needed all of that natural rubber. Synthetic rubber still was not easily made at this time. So the US signed a treaty with Brazil and to obtain natural latex rubber. And what happened was Brazil sent out what they called rubber soldiers to collect this latex. They sent out roughly 50,000 soldiers into the Amazon rainforest to find the trees and collect the rubber. So for comparison's sake, they sent roughly 25,000 soldiers to the European theater to fight the Nazis. And it is said by some that more soldiers died collecting rubber in the Amazon than fighting the Nazis in Europe. So the Amazon is not to be trifled with. It's a beast. So the families that live on the Iaco, or many of the families that live on the Iaco River currently, are descendants of these rubber soldiers that were sent to that part of the Amazon. It's a rather large spread out area where there were these about 4 old rubber collecting areas. It's very remote, 4 days from the largest city, one very long boat ride to get to these areas. And natural rubber in the area is no longer a source of income for these roughly about 80 families that live in the area. Most of their income now comes from agriculture and cattle ranching, which cattle ranching, we know, is not the greatest thing for the Amazon forest. Cacao grows wild in these areas, so Luisa has been trying to get traction with the farmers to have them collect the wild cacao so she can produce her chocolate. This was the last one on the shelf because this year there wasn't really a harvest because there was major flooding in the area and they could not collect the cacao, and some of the cacao trees were damaged. So it's wild cacao, it's a wild rainforest. What can you do in that case? So in this case, you may not see this again for a while. So the Iaco is a tributary of the Purus, which is a tributary of the Amazon, but as you know, she has a Purus bar, but the Iaco has a very distinct flavor from those beans. So, and she's also put a little bit of history on this package. So the one that I have is the 70%, and these little doodads all over the package are actually rubber seeds from the rubber tree. If you look at these 81% cacao package, it has these like diagonal striped markings on it. This comes from how they collect the sap of the rubber tree. So they make these cuts diagonally so the sap runs out of the tree down these cuts to be collected. And it's a very distinct way of collecting sap. The latex leaves these distinct markings on the bark, and that is what she put on the 81% package. So that is just a little information and history and background that goes behind these 2 bars, the 70% and the 81% of the Iaco cacao. I really like the flavor of these beans. If she manages to collect another harvest, I would highly recommend that you get your hands on one of these. Such a lovely, distinct flavor to them. Let me know if you've tried it. Let me know if you've had other Luisa Abram chocolate, because she makes some very interesting wild cacao bars. So drop it in the comments and let me know what you think. Otherwise, that's it for today's Bar Bits video. I hope that you found this interesting and that you will join us next time. Thanks for watching.